Welcome back to I'm Still Here. I'm Larry.
And I'm Heather. In 1998, at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It changed everything for us, but I'm still here.
Yep.
All
right. This is 2/3 of the way through our 5 to Thrive series.
Is it technical? Well, after this will be 2/3.
Right.
We're one episode away from 2/3.
We're 2/3 through.
What's the math on that?
2/3.
Okay.
2 over a 3. Anyway, the 5 to Thrive series is Heather's advice or things that people going through it who have not before can maybe take little bits and pieces from this and not make mistakes or have to suffer through some things that you have. And tell us about why.
Yeah, I think they're kind of the different focus areas that I found to be the most helpful, right? So, I mean, it was kind of the things that I kept coming back to again and again. If I could focus on mental, physical, nutrition, medical, and then my support. Those were kind of that brought together the plan that really seemed to work the best for me. So we already talked about kind of from diagnosis to treatment, and now we're talking about like while you're in treatment, if that's the course of what you're doing.
Right.
We know for some people that looks different, and I mean, and you can say like also that people are in treatment forever. I'm still considered to be in treatment, but I'm not in the thick of it the same way that I used to be.
Right.
So today we're going to talk about support system while you're in treatment.
In the treatment, we're, for the most part, talking about is what?
Chemo, surgery, radiation, things like that.
Okay.
So,
yep.
I would say that when you're talking about a support system and kind of a cancer where you kind of get diagnosed and then they say you're going to do this, right? Here's going to be your treatment. This is when people are the most available to you. This is when people really are kind of stepping up to the plate, or they have already maybe offered, and now you're kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of how your life is going to be for a while. And so this is an opportunity to take those offers and consider them and use them in a way that it works for you. And I think the important thing to say with that is that you don't have to say yes to everybody either. Like if there's somebody who keeps offering to do something and you just, whatever, they drive you crazy, or that you can say no, or maybe they can have a job where you don't have to spend any time with them, but they can still be helpful. So I just kind of want to preface this by saying that, again, stand up for yourself. Listen to yourself in this. Like, you get to protect yourself and your feelings. And I feel like there's nothing more important than that during all of this. And we've kind of talked about in the past, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. Your cup is going to get emptied by the nature of just the fact that you're doing all this treatment, right?
No doubt.
So
this is where you need a CEO. You need somebody to manage a lot of the stuff for you.
Yeah.
Heather very intentionally made this her focus. Now that, and when I say that, some people go to, wait, she just 24/7. That's all she. No. But that was her job, or her focus, or her, where her energy went was to killing cancer. And therefore, there's some things that do detract from that. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. Having a child. We had a child that detracted from that. Not in a negative way. And matter of fact, a lot of times it was
a great distraction.
Exactly.
Yes, and great motivation.
But a lot of the things we're going to talk about today, if you have somebody, like she's already mentioned, this is where people volunteering come into play. If somebody can be the CEO and give them assignments, or say no thank you, or say we would like this, or we need this many people to do this, you're not the one that has to do that. Now, maybe not everybody has that person that can kind of get that assignment or say, you know what I need from you? I don't need you to drive me. I don't need you to do this. I need you to run the show. You don't never have to be here with me. I'll communicate with you. You communicate with them. And because it's nice when people step up and want to help you. But that can also be
really overwhelming,
stressful and anxiety ridden and there's feelings and
yeah, again, like your job is not to manage other people's feelings at this point. And that's so, I know that's not how we're built, but it is so important right now. When you're in treatment, pour your energy into yourself. And if somebody else is sucking your energy from you, then consider how you can take a step away.
It's kind of like going to boot camp or kind of like going to a retreat or something. That's what the patient needs to be in. A retreat, and be it. And I'm not saying go somewhere, but I'm saying that mentality of we go there and we don't have to worry because we don't have a cell phone signal and we're away from everything, and that's all our focus is on. And we kind of forget about the real world during this period of time. If this patient can have that kind of environment, and people can make that happen, they're killing cancer.
Yeah. And I would say one thing that, again, we've talked a little bit, Sydney was really young, like really young. So she wasn't asking questions at that time, you know. But, and I know kids ask questions, but I don't have the experience with this, but I would say, like, I think in the time that we raised our kids and they asked questions, we kept it pretty general. I don't think you have to be overly... Mommy's sick. Yeah. Or I have to go get my medicine. You know, I have cancer, but I'm not... Like, we didn't freak out about that stuff, and we didn't want them to freak out about it also. So sometimes I think we overshare, I'll be honest, you know, and kids, it's a lot on them, you know, so.
Can be. Depends on how they take it.
Yeah, and that's true. They all respond differently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of going back to, you know, this is when people are available. So use them, you know. Use the ones you want. You don't have to have everybody. Some people, you know, I knew there were some people who just wanted to get the 411. You know what I mean? I didn't need them to be around, or somebody that I was not close with them, or they drove me crazy before no, they're not going to be the ones hanging out with me. And then again, just for me in processing things, the mental energy of so many people was really too much for me. So I just really made my circle pretty small, and that just worked a lot better for me, you know? So, I was thinking about you on treatment days, like you kind of need a treatment days team, right?
Right.
And that team is kind of like who's going with you, who's watching your kids, who's maybe going to have dinner for you when you get home.
Or if you're not going to eat for your kids.
For your kids, exactly. Yeah. Right, yeah. Oh, for sure. So just kind of all of those different people. And sometimes, like for me, we've talked about it was you and my mom and Christy that really did the bulk of that. It wasn't always the same, but generally you went to chemo with me, you know, and my mom, I think, would watch Sydney a lot of times, and Christy picked up the slack on a lot of other things. And also she was kind of my non-treatment days person. So,
because I would take a day off school to go to chemo.
Right.
And do that. But then I would go back to school the next day.
Yeah.
You know, for all those. I didn't have many days at the time that kind of to take off.
Right. And you kind of get into a rhythm pretty quickly. Like I knew that the next day was probably going to be okay. Like just kind of, you might need somebody who's kind of on call for you. And I definitely had that. We had a great neighbor who, like, if I was, you know, there were days during parts of my treatment that like I was getting like, so I would kind of feel like I was going to pass out, right, when I was getting up. But just knowing there's somebody you can call that can help you quickly, that's always a nice thing to have, you know. I think also one thing that's kind of good is to work to people's strengths. So we had people who took care of our dogs, and by took care of our dogs, I mean she was like a vet tech. So she literally was like, the maintenance of our dogs.
She'd come get them?
She'd come get them.
Bring them back at night?
Yep. And she would, like, she made sure they were up to on their shots and just all that kind of stuff that we just,
Stuff that's for sure going to get put on the back burner.
Yeah.
A lot of our friends said, that's something I can do.
Yes.
Ooh, they don't have to worry about it if I just do that. And it was wonderful.
Or there would be days that we would go to treatment, we'd come home and the house would be clean.
And dinner.
Yes.
On the, like we didn't plan that. What we're saying to you, we didn't have any plan for that kind of stuff, and it was just done.
Well, and the thing that's kind of nice about that, too, is, again, because I didn't want a ton of interaction, it was really nice if somebody could be in my house doing something that I really appreciated, but I didn't have to be there during that time.
And everybody knows, suppressed immune system. It's not like the environment you want to go. We all went through COVID, so we understand that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, everybody who's going through cancer treatment,
pretty
much any pathogen is much more harmful to you than before.
Yeah. So just kind of staggering that kind of stuff. Oh, I'll be in an appointment. If you want to come in during that time, that'd be great. Having drivers for different things. And again, I think that's all just about comfort level and that kind of thing too. So even though people sometimes are willing, there might not be the best person for that. Right?
Yep.
There's lots of other roles too. Like there's a lot of research type of roles, and my mom took on a lot of that, but I think there's also just various people could do that. We were looking into what we could do she was looking into, I can't even say I didn't want to be a part of any of that. I knew I couldn't handle it. She knew, we all knew I couldn't handle it.
So there wasn't, there was research done prior to treatment, but Heather went from diagnosis to treatment pretty fast.
Yeah, really
so
fast.
The research was during treatment, like we're talking about right now, of what else is out there, what are other options, what are other facilities doing, what's down the road, what are some experimental things going on right now, because when you're diagnosed at 26 with stage 4 and it's holy crap, it's nice to research everything. And that's not always on your oncologist to do that. And it's nice to have somebody else. So
it was nice that my mom could come to an appointment and say, "Hey, I read about this."
Yes.
And my oncologist could be like, "Yes, we are," or "I have considered that," or "That is, down the road if I need it."
And those two would just speak intelligently about that, and we would just, that was somebody else's role as far as we can.
Yes, exactly. The other thing is you can learn things from people from things going wrong, but I couldn't handle knowing that other people had, people die, right? So I would just couldn't get into any of that type of situation. So that was just me protecting myself.
That was the mental side, protecting the mental.
Yep.
Which is important.
Yep. So definitely a research type of person is super helpful for you.
Another research, we've already talked about nutrition and fitness.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are not experts. And there's even fewer people out there who are experts in nutrition and fitness when somebody's going through cancer treatment.
Right.
That's a whole nother level of to-dos, not to-dos, and the whys behind it. So, why don't you tell them about Block?
Yeah, so I ended up, my mom found this place called Block. It's like Block Medical Center, Block Center, I don't know.
It's Block Medical Center.
Right now. Yep. They've changed their name a few times over the years. But basically, we were looking for what would make sense from nutrition, all of it, integrative health, right? Yeah. But it felt like you were just throwing a dart at a dartboard. Like you had no idea, really who really knew what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. But this place kept coming up as my mom was reading about it, and it was in the Chicago area. And she just said, let's go. And it was such a great relief to be able to, we met with them. They had oncologists on staff. They were a second opinion for us medically, but they also were like, yes, this is what we do. We advise people, from a nutritional standpoint, from a supplement standpoint, from everything, you name it, we do it.
So not only we agree with the chemotherapy that you're getting, but this nutritionally and these supplements on top of it can even make it work better.
Yes.
And hallelujah.
Yeah.
And somebody that's a nutritionist by trade would not know any of that. Yeah. That's not their
It was all
jam.
specific to people dealing with cancer, and actually, a lot of times very aggressive type of cancer.
And specifically to the treatment that's going on and how your body's going to be deficient in certain things because of that treatment.
Yes.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, I bet, is online now. I'm sure
and
some of it.
I know Dr. Block has written books about it, but the great thing for us, and we were able to, pay out of pocket for some things, but also, our insurance covered some of it, which was also a huge relief. But we were literally able to do blood tests that were telling us things.
So that's what you're not going to get online.
Yeah.
is you might read about Heather Jose and she ate this and took these nutrients because you don't have the same blood as her. You have a different body to go through
your
that.
Your treatment's not doing the same. Your immune system's not the same as mine. All of those things.
So it's very, just like with the treatment today in immunotherapy, it is so 100% tailored to you.
Yeah.
That's what this was.
It was.
And
even we would change supplements for different times. We changed supplements dramatically during radiation, and I never burned.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And they were like, "Yep, this is what we know. We've learned this." So having somebody to walk with you through that and not feel like, well, kind of just haphazard about it was fantastic. And I don't go to Block anymore, but I do, even now as I take supplements, I kind of do feel like I'm back to that whole shot in the dark type of thing, because it's like, we don't know so much anymore, what really, and it's just.
But somebody can do this research as far as getting you connected to somebody and making it, science-based, not internet-based, can do that for you. That can be somebody in your life, and somebody's good at that in your life right now.
Yeah.
Give them that role. They'll take it and run with it and love it and feel like they are doing something.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, once you kind of establish this plan, it's like, okay, what are you doing on the non-treatment days, right? So that's kind of there's a whole nother team for that. So on non-treatment days, you were going to work, somebody needed to go to work, right? But then I was, I guess, thinking about the Block stuff. My friend Christy was like, okay, let's try it. I was really changing the way I was eating, and she, we spent so much time together just figuring out new things kind of under these guidelines that I was working with, and it's so nice to have somebody who will kind of just be with you, to go for a walk. And again, Christy lived 2.5 hours from me the whole time. So she'd come up at times, we would meet, we would, whatever. We weren't together sometimes. I mean, we've spent more time on the phone than I think anybody, but anyway, it can work in a lot of different ways. And even knowing that somebody else is trying what you're trying from afar or whatever was really helpful. But I also, during that time, had somebody who was still babysitting Sydney. So that was also just to really help me structure my days, be able to focus on myself. It wasn't all day. It would be me taking her for 3-4 hours and then picking her back up. And
in that 3 and 4 hours, I
was all about
cancer.
Me. I was killing cancer. That was my job during that time. And then I could really, and I will say some days that meant I was taking a nap. You know what I mean? It's
no doubt.
It meant that was time for me to focus on me. And then I could spend the rest of our day really focused on her. And that was so important to me, especially at that time, because we didn't know how many days we would have, So to be able to kind of be in the moment the best I could was really, really important and I think precious, for all of that. So.
For sure.
And, there's nothing like somebody, she was 14 months old when I was diagnosed, so she's getting to be pretty funny and entertaining at that point in the game, so she certainly was not thinking too much about cancer, so it was nice. But the other things in terms of support systems is just we've talked a little bit about, who are the people who can take things off your plate that feel like too much. I was thinking also about from a financial standpoint. My mom helped me apply. She applied for me for Social Security disability, which we was an automatic qualifier. Like it was one of those things, but that Social Security is so intimidating.
Anytime you apply for anything at that level,
it's so intimidating and overwhelming, and just I didn't have to deal with any of that, and we did have if you need somebody to help you pay your bills, even like whatever, it's just those are the burdens that are they take up so much energy and they're so worrisome. It's so nice if somebody else can kind of take some of that stuff off your plate, right? Mm-hmm. Little cleaning, taking your car, whatever that looks like, all of that stuff, maintenance of things.
And so many people, obviously, you probably already know this, but they come to you and say, "Oh, anything I can do to help."
Yeah.
Well, most of the people who offer that, it ends up being thank you and nothing ever.
And nothing. Yes.
That's where if you do have somebody in charge of, hey, these people offer, they can go ask them, not you.
Yeah.
And find something perfect that doesn't impact them hardly at all.
Or it makes them feel great and they're really good at it.
And it makes them feel great.
Yes.
So it can be a 30 seconds a day thing they do for you.
Yeah.
They pick up your mail and drive it up to the house.
Exactly. I was just going to say that's so funny.
Okay.
I mean, we've always had a long driveway.
Yeah.
So it's just even that.
That's for us. It's
bring the mail up.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Hey, can you take the garbage down on Fridays or Saturdays or whatever that is? And that's something that they can do and have ownership. And that would make me, like if I were just the one off, that would make me like, heck yes, this is what I'm doing for them. Yeah. And then I'm not bothering them, but yet they don't have to worry about this because I'm going to take care of it.
Yeah.
That would make somebody like me feel good.
Or get together with some, if a group will get together and bring you a meal, once a week or something like that, where that it's coming. And even if it's not something maybe that you're going to eat, but that your family will eat,
Sure. Yeah, right.
And I do feel like if your support system can be mindful of the fact that this goes on for longer than just a couple of weeks. If you think about like a death in the family, I feel like a lot of times people, of course they gather around, but then you kind of fatigue and you go away. Mm-hmm. And we have, I think because of the cancer, there's been times over the years that we have tried to support families going through tough things in a different way, where we do something once a week for months. Yeah. But not every day of the week, just once a week, them knowing, or once, whatever it looks like, but not walking away right away. Mm-hmm. So, while your head is still spinning. So the other thing support wise is just, man, cards of encouragement, things that are just, the encouragement from other people can be really helpful too. And
got a bunch of people in your life and they don't know how to help, or maybe you're not best friends with this person or something, or just get a bunch of meal cards or those kind of things for them. And
or even just send them a note.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Means a lot.
So it does mean a lot. So I think I still have all of that stuff that I've gotten. But I think the most important thing about treatment is that you, as a patient, you have to be mindful of what works for you, and you don't have to do it the traditional way. I didn't do it the traditional way. You don't also, it's okay to kind of say, I don't want to do this, or whatever it looks like. Like, again, just that whole, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So it's your job just to worry about your cup at this point. So,
right.
Yeah. Whew.
Whew. Okay, well, that is the treatment phase.
Yeah.
So now we will be heading into, I get it, we're calling it post-treatment.
Yeah.
And for metastatic cancer patients, that's the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. And that's very different for everybody. We get that. But we're going to go, beyond maybe even what you've considered in some of the aspects of that. And that will be coming up in the next 5 Wednesdays.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Have a great week.
See ya.